Canada's political chaos. Laughs, Trudeau, Carney, and Bill C-2 in this MUSD Watch chat. Canada's political atmosphere is thick with tension and uncertainty in the wake of Mark Carney's surprise minority win in the snap election on April 28, 2025. Carney stepped in where Justin Trudeau had tread loudly, with charisma, scandal, and headline-grabbing moments. Carney's takeover came without fanfare, no grand entrance, no viral gestures, but with sweeping policy actions that many Canadians didn't initially notice. His rise, framed as a return to sober confidence, masks a wave of legislation quietly transforming how the Canadian state interacts with its citizens. In this high-stakes drama, every clause and paragraph matters more than ever. Justin Trudeau's tenure was one of theatrical motion: visits to the Arctic in yellow jackets, press conferences with matching sneakers, and constant social media buzz. But beneath the spectacle lay scandals, blackface revelations, SNC-Lavalin We Charity, dramas that consumed public trust and shaped an image of inconsistent governance. Mark Carney, in contrast, launched his leadership with reticence. No spectacles, no stunts, just strategic moves, like ushering in Bill C-2, the Secure Borders Act. Its passage was unassuming, yet carried seismic implications, sweeping authority over private mail, warrantless internet checks, and heavy restrictions on cash during transactions over $10,000. Picture this: routine mail could now be read without a judge's say-so. Internet service providers might be forced to share browsing histories. Cash beyond a certain threshold could vanish under strict scrutiny. All pitched as tools in the fight against fentanyl trafficking, yet the machinery built goes far beyond that. Critics fear this is surveillance by default and could serve future governments far better than the current one. Private citizens with no criminal ties might find themselves caught in a dampening net of watchful eyes. It's not that Canada lacks laws for crime. It already has powerful tools to tackle organized trafficking, money laundering, and hate speech. But instead of relying on existing frameworks, Ottawa opted for new, far-reaching powers. The result: selective enforcement that favors high-profile political cases, like the Freedom Convoy, while neglecting major crimes like serious fraud or abduction. Urgent trials for protests proceed at lightning speed. Grave criminal cases stall for months or even years. That inconsistency points to a broken enforcement culture, not legal deficiency. Bureaucracy also plays a starring role. Watchdog bodies like CISE operate under heavy secrecy, with limited oversight. COVID-era spending soared into the billions, but audits and public reviews remain rare. When government spending vanishes into opaque silos and laws are enforced selectively, citizens lose faith. Laws serve as promises until enforcers choose to hold or fold, a dynamic that institutionalizes distrust. Carney's early governance reads like a calm keepsake: carbon tax trimmed, rebates intact, infrastructure promises wrapped in Bill C-5, all cloaked in a veil of reliability. To business and financial elites, these moves signal a steady hand. But for many Canadians, it feels disconnected. Spreadsheets and international deals lack the warmth and national identity that once animated leadership. Where's the sense of purpose, of collective story? Enter Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader and the symbolic antidote. He gives voice to everyday Canadians who feel overlooked, renters crushed by rising housing costs, families stretched thin by wage stagnation, residents frustrated by provincial-federal gridlock. Poilievre frames it bluntly: you pour everything into your life, and the system still takes more. The weight keeps tipping. That emotional pitch lands hardest in suburban and rural pockets across Ontario and Atlantic Canada, regions where voters sense a crisis between politics and life. Alberta tells its own story. Once the energy engine of Canada, many residents now feel sidelined by national policy. Pipeline projects halted by court rulings imposed from coast to coast, carbon regulations shaped in global forums far removed from provincial realities. This isn't fringe. It's a deep disillusionment. Conservative ascendance in Alberta is less about ideology, more about a hunger for respect and voice, a counterweight to Ottawa's tightening grip. Yet, even amid simmering discontent, Carney holds a slight polling edge. Many voters find comfort in technocratic stewardship over political tumult. But edges are volatile. A leak about private mail searches or a case of digital overreach could spark blowback. Public trust is delicate. Trust in government is betrayed more easily than rebuilt, and legislation like Bill C-2 walks a fine line between calm enforcement and covert expansion of power. Therein lies the hidden threat: quiet disengagement. Busy citizens juggle jobs, kids, grocery lines, not legal codes. That space of disengagement becomes fertile ground for power to shift without public awareness. Surveillance grows incrementally, policies entrench subtly, until one day your communications aren't private anymore, or your large cash deposit sets off alarms. Democracy weakens not through coups, but through culture of silent consent. And when pushback comes, it challenges entrenched systems, sparking deeper conflict. Canada stands at a crossroads: technocratic stability versus populist accountability. One side risks stealth erosion of rights, the other risks populist impatience damaging institutional guardrails. The critical question: how to hold power without amplifying chaos. Democracy demands not fireworks and spectacle, but quiet, sustained participation. Every citizen is a custodian, not a spectator. So pay attention. Read those bills. Attend council meetings. Ask representatives questions. Engage with oversight hearings, not headlines. Because democracy lives not in Instagram moments, but in respectful insistence on fairness, the tiny battles waged in service to collective freedom. Canada's next chapter depends on whose voices are heard: those who look away, or those who refuse to leave the room. If this moment passes unseen, Canada may one day awaken to another country, technically secure, economically sound, but hollowed from the inside. It's not too late. Watch. Question. Participate. The story of our democracy isn't written by leaders. It's written by our engagement, tenacity, and demand for openness.